Welcome to Amigos podcast, where creativity meets business. Our goal with this podcast is to help other creators all over the world to get inspired and learn for others' creators' mistake and avoid a couple of headache along the way. And today, for the first ever episode of Amigos podcast, we have my good amigo here, Oliver, which also is a part of the Amigos creative space. He's currently renting a space here together with Osman and Emma. And you guys going to be back to back, the first guests of the podcast. But without further ado, let's get right into it. So, Oliver, tell me a little bit about you and who is Oliver?
Yeah, well, that's a big question. My name is Oliver Nicholls. I work as a freelance videographer and marketer. I do a little bit of VFX stuff, 3D work. I enjoy editing a lot. It started as a hobby and now it's my professional career. Don't really know what I want to do when I grow up, but for the time being, this is a lot of fun. And I just enjoy the community and being able to get to know more people within photo and video and whatever.
That's cool. So you would say you were more of a editing guy and a creator yourself, or you like both of the process?
I would say 50-50. I don't like just editing, but I don't like just filming either. So I want the whole, take the whole creative process of a production.
Nice. I have a couple of questions around that, but let's run it back a little bit and tell me a little bit about you growing up. I have noticed your British accent, so I would say you have a part of UK in your blood. Tell me a little bit about.
Yeah. No, I was born in Norway, in Bærum, and then when I turned 9 months old, we moved to the UK because my dad is from Pitsea in the UK. Lived there from I was 1 till 7, and then we moved back to Norway again. So in that space, I've obviously I didn't speak any Norwegian when I was from I was 1 till 7, and then when we moved back, I didn't know a word of Norwegian, so I just had to start in school speaking British and then just figuring it out as I went along.
So you went to international school in Norway for a while?
No, that was a Norwegian school.
And you didn't speak any Norwegian at the time? I
so
can imagine the struggle. When I moved here, I know how you felt.
Yep.
But so how did you start this your creative journey?
I skied a bit when I was younger because my family liked downhill skiing a lot. So I made a little edit when I was 12. That's the first video I can remember that I've made. And then when I was, I revisited that when I was about 16, 17, because we were on a liverboard in Egypt diving with my dad. So we basically you live on that boat for a week. And I brought like this action camera along with me that my dad had bought. Cost about £200 on eBay.
Do you remember which camera was it back in the days?
I don't remember. It was just it was a knockoff GoPro, very cheap. Yeah. I just remember bringing it with me everywhere. And then we would obviously have some spare time in between dives. So when we came up from the water, I would just plug the SD card into my computer and create an edit in Wondershare Filmora.
Do you remember which app did you use to edit the videos?
Wondershare Filmora.
Wondershare, yeah. How old was it? How long time ago?
I was 17, so I must have been 20. I think it was 2015, actually.
Okay,
yeah.
Not that long time ago, but still.
11 years.
Nice, and that's when you kind of start to get curious about creating more content, or you took a break after that, went to school. How was it?
That's when I knew how rewarding it was to just make a video. So I was like, wow, this was a lot of fun. And I thought of it as like a hobby thing. Obviously I was at high school at the time, so I didn't have a budget for any camera gear, and I didn't, there was like, you could have gone media linje. It's like, you could go a certain direction in high school that was about cameras. I didn't do that. It was just study. I can't remember what it's called, but studie spesialiserende. So there wasn't really an arena for me to do it unless I wanted to do it outside of school. But I traveled a bit with a couple of friends, and I eventually bought a GoPro Hero 7 in 2018, which I brought with me to. We traveled to the US a couple of times, so I brought that with me and focused on just filming some stuff and making YouTube edits, which they're a lot of fun to look back on now. Obviously very amateur, but just as
the fun of
memories.
it, right? Yeah. But I think about like you start on the Red Sea with GoPro from Temu, and then you switch to a little better, travel with your friends. But there is a gap between this part and where you are now. So did you study something in between? What was the thing that made you? Because I also know that you do some art. So I want to get a little bit into it, because you're a bit on the creative space that is not just the content, the cameras, but you also do things with your own hand kind of thing.
Yeah.
So what was the thing that kind of like get to you that you made the switch? Like, okay, I'm studying, but when I'm done with it, I want to get into content again and kind of make a living out of it.
Well, that switch was very gradually, but it didn't happen. That didn't happen before much later, because I went after high school. I had a year before I went in the compulsory army service. So
the Norwegian military.
Yeah. So that year was I was just working. I was working at a paint shop, actually, Bauhaus at Liertoppen. Just selling paint. That was the main job. And I would travel with some friends that also had like a gap year before the army. But that's when I also brought my camera with me, or my GoPro with me, put some stuff together, just for fun. And then the army, I actually also brought my GoPro with me just in case. And we ended up making a video that was pretty funny. And then I realized, okay, you know what, film is pretty interesting. I could pursue this. And I remember looking at some schools in London, just because I liked the idea of it.
For filming.
Yeah. And then Corona happened. So that wasn't going to happen. And then I found a school in Bergen, Fagskolen Kristiania, which was film and film production, I think, 2-year run. I went 1 year and decided that I didn't really like it. And then parallel with the school, I worked as a videographer at an accountant firm, because the summer before I started school, I'd made a YouTube video of a travel video.
For yourself?
For myself, yeah. That I made a YouTube edit of us doing like a camping trip around Norway. So it was I think we were six friends, rented an RV, drove up to Lofoten, and just filmed a lot of stuff. And then I worked as a videographer at the accountant firm, alongside studies or film production. Figured out that film, I liked the business side of the company that I was working in, and I didn't really see myself pursuing traditional film. So I decided to drop out of that and start a 3-year bachelor run at BA, Norwegian Business School. But I didn't want the economy way either. I wanted to pursue digital communication and marketing. So, and I thought realistically for me, being able to combine a little bit of business knowledge with what I know with video would be beneficial. So I did that I did BA for 3 years. At the same time, I worked at a couple of startups within content creation, so camera and some animation stuff. Those startups both went bankrupt. So
it's a good learn.
Right? So I learned what not to do.
That's the most important.
Yeah. And then my last year at Bay, I had an exchange semester in Tampa, Florida. And I think that's when my kind of spark ignited again.
Because how long were you there?
Just a semester. So it was
6 months, 5 months?
5, I think, yeah. So the fall of 2023. But that's so for 2 years before that, I'd worked professionally with video alongside my studies. But then when I was in America, I really got my spark back for making content, because we did some traveling and I brought my camera with me, and my laptop that was a pain, a real pain to work with. But I struggled for it to make some edits that I really liked. And then I got back to Norway, finished my last semester at Bay, and then I realized that this is something I could pursue. I was seeing people being able to do it full time.
Nice.
Yeah. So after that, that's when I started.
And when you started go for yourself, kind of go your own way.
Yeah.
So just a little recap here for people that don't know. In Norway, there is a thing called gap year.
Yeah.
That is a year that people, they take 1 year. They say it's a gap year. So they will have a gap between when they're going to start their careers, and they travel the world doing content or getting to know new cultures and everything. So it's a pretty cool thing. And you kind of learn a lot along the way. And what could you say that you learn from these two things, actually, two questions into one? One, what have you learned on the military? Because I know it's a really like discipline thing. And I have seen here in the office, you come at the 8, you are on time, you do like your job. You always like really kind of strict the way you kind of do things. And I would say that probably come from the military, but I want to hear from you, like, what have you taken from the military that help you now in your business career? And also what you have taken for the gap year that have helped you in your journey now.
Okay. I'll probably start with the gap year. That was before the army.
Not much to take from there.
I don't think I could take much from the gap year, but that was it was just a way to have fun. I mean, it's a luxury we have where we can actually do that. I know a lot of cultures that's obscene, but we traveled a lot. We would work because it was 4 of us primarily, 3 other friends who would just work week in, week out. And then I had 2 of my friends are very into this like Eurobonus SAS program.
Don't get me started with
it. So they would scout for like really cheap tickets. I remember we went to Hawaii for like, we flew from Bergen to Hawaii for 5,000 kroners. We went to Cape Town, South Africa, same amount. And then I think in 2018, we were in America 3 times that year.
All because of the bonus?
Pretty much, yeah. I think they just scouted the web for some cheap tickets. I think we paid $150 back and forth trip to US. So it was just a good way to go out, experience the world, film some stuff. And
So maybe that was the thing you learned from the gap year.
Probably,
so like, of course, you enjoy life, but also the Euro bonus. How beneficial it can be. And then you can also take this technique and apply maybe in other areas, right? How to kind of use the system in your favor.
Yeah, true. And then so that was, I would say that's pretty sums up my gap year in terms of what I learned. And then the army, probably a lot more than I recognized myself. I remember when I was just about to finish the army, I think I sent a snap to one of my friends like, it's only, I think I wrote like something, there's only 23 days left of me having to get up at 6 a.m. in ever.
And then you continue doing that for a long time.
And then I remember after the army, I had like a bit of a reset where you just, if I can sleep past 6 a.m., I'm very happy. So just chill as much as I could. But then I realized that what you learn in the army is pretty great in terms of a discipline and just creating a schedule. So yeah, mental fortitude and just, not knowing. I think the army kind of set a standard for what is tough and what is not. So in terms of like work, and if a customer says no, it's whatever. You've kind of been through worse.
Not the end of the world. Yes.
No. So it's not like there's no physical pain or physical struggle involved. There was definitely some of that in the army. And
that's a really good thing to take away with, because I have had a couple assistants here and there, and they take the tripod. They could say, "Oh, this is really cold." You know what I mean? Like, bro, he was in the army, like with minus 20 outside, right? So these kind of things as well, like kind of like teach you to know when to kind of complain, right? Is it worth complaining about this when 2 months ago you were in the army on that situation? So it's really hard maybe to compare. I haven't been in the army myself, but of course you see films and everything, and I have friends that has been there. It might be hard to compare the reality that is on the army. Your day, like in a daily basics, the stuff that you do there when you come to the real world. And like you say, like you do with clients, with customer, like it's really hard to compare. Like you say, there is no amount of pain, there is no struggle. We're just like, okay, then we move on compared to how it was in the army. So how tough would you say it was? Because you were there for like a year?
Just a calendar year. I mean, I want to disclaim that I wasn't in like the worst branch of the army. I know there are a lot of people up, like further up north, who get it a lot worse in terms of cold or temperature wise. But I was in the King's Guard, so we had, which is pretty, I think, somewhere in between in terms of like how tough it is. We have, you've got like 50% of the time you're stood outside the castle or Skaugum or wherever, and then 50% of the time you're just training and drilling. So I'm not going to like brag that it was insane, but it was a good, for a 19-year-old, it's a good experience to just...
Compared to your normal lifestyle, you have it kind of... Sure. Yeah, that's good. But now let's make a little bit of transition, a little bit more to the creative side. So I remember you sending me a message on Instagram, because quite weird that our families kind of know each other as well. So I remember you send a message and you say like, oh, maybe let's meet up, let's do something. And then you show up at my exhibition. I saw you were a bit shy, you didn't talk to much people. And it's normal. I also do the same. But just the fact that you took the courage to send a message and also to show up at this exhibition without knowing anyone, it shows that you were willing to kind of like do what it takes to kind of like come into this creative community, meet new people and start collaborate. And then I remember after you met up a couple of other peoples on my events, you've been to the volleyball event with Sonny, and then you got a bit closer to Osmund as well and you started to do more stuff with them. So what made you kind of like send a message in the first place or come into the exhibition in the first place? And how important it is, you would say, to kind of like get out of the comfort zone a little bit when you are starting your career?
I think, I forgot to mention that, but one of my experience where I like learned the most was that I did street sales the summer before I went to Tampa, the exchange semester. I worked as a street salesman for 6 weeks. It felt like a lot longer. But the idea there is that you don't get paid unless you sell. And that's what it sounds like. You stand in the middle of Bogstadveien. I mean, I live there now, so I used to stand just right outside my door.
What were you selling?
I was selling Plan B, like charity subscriptions, basically, which is a good cause to sell. It's just that you have to stop someone in the street and say, "Hi, can you listen to me?" In a way. I mean, we obviously had a lot of better ways of stopping people, but that was kind of what I drew from it in terms of the worst thing you can get is a no, because that's what we learned there straight away was you will get 100 no's in a day and life goes on. And that's kind of the same mental aspect you have to bring into it. It's just on every level in life, you're going to get a no regardless, but are you going to stop because of that? That's kind of the
that's
idea.
A good way to think. But a question over this is like, tell us a little bit of a street sales technique. Like how did you stop people, and like what was your approach?
So there was a very specific way where you would I can't remember the whole thing right now, but your body language need to be on par to be able to stop people. So if someone would walk past you, you have to turn your head and point the other direction. So if someone walks past you, I would look that way and say, "Hi, excuse me, do you live here?" And they would turn around and look at me and see that I'm not looking at them. So they would get very confused and then stop and like wonder what is he looking at. And as soon as they stop, you got them already. So that was a very specific way. And that
worked?
Yeah, that worked almost every time.
Did you do the patent on that technique, or is it you learn from someone?
That's learn from someone. These techniques have been done for 20 years. So yeah,
that's a good thing. So for all the street sales people out there, look at one way, and then just like Ronaldinho when they play football, right? They sit one way and look at the other. That's how they did. But yeah, so tell me a little bit more about. Like I said, like the getting out of the comfort zone and how important that would be for someone out there that is kind of like either moving to a new country or starting their own career.
I think a big thing for me is I have watched Alex Hormozi pretty religiously. He's a like entrepreneur YouTube guy, and what he says is like reframe failure, because it's very easy to just get stuck in your own head in terms of and just asking yourself what's the worst that can happen. I mean, I sent you a DM on Instagram. The worst that could have happened was you send me a message saying, "No, you suck." Like that's, I wouldn't expect that from you,
I
but
would
that's
never do that.
no. But that but just realizing that there is, I mean, the rejection, the idea of rejection is just in your own mind, and the fun thing about starting out is that no one's looking at you anyways. Like you can be scared of others' opinion. But if your piece of content gets 50 views, that's also positive because that means no one saw it when it was bad. And then when you're good, you'll get, I mean, not that views is like the most important thing, but just as a metric. So no, just reframing failure and just realizing that life isn't that serious, to be honest.
Yeah. And that's the perfect time to commit the mistakes when you're starting, right? Because like you say, no one is looking at you, no one knows who you are. But when you are at the top, that's theoretically when you should not do the same mistake that you theoretically should have done 10 years ago, right?
Yep,
so it's a perfect point. But like, what would you say to someone as well, like as myself moving to Norway, now we're trying to build this little community here. If you would have to go back and do everything again, like now, like what would you have done differently?
I guess, I mean, my little disclaimer is I've been pretty pleased of how well it's gone. So I'm pretty happy with what I've done. But in terms of, I think I could have reached out more to more people.
In the beginning, you mean?
Yeah. Because I realized just the value of network. And I think everyone says that, but I think it has to be experienced before anything. So I could probably have spent 50% of my time sending DMs to people and asking, can I buy you a coffee? Because just being able to, first of all, if you get a hold of someone and speak about them, they will love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on a podcast there speaking about myself.
Now it's your turn.
Yeah. So that's a very good strategy. And just, if you just be likable and respectful, and people usually want to help. So if you're starting out, I would just get a hold of as many people as possible.
So you'd say network and reaching out, getting out of the comfort zone is the most kind of important thing on the beginning. Yeah.
And then you never know. I mean, you never know because one thing is getting to know people, and then at the end of it, there's a paid job, which is, I mean, especially when starting out, that's kind of the only thing you're looking for is to keep the boat afloat in a way.
I would say as well, like now in Norway is starting to get like a good group of people that is willing to help as well. Because when I started, it was not that simple to kind of like join shoots, because also the market was much smaller. That can I join you to help you, and then they would think about but then you're gonna learn my tricks and you're gonna take my clients, right? And now I always keep saying that there is more clients than enough of creators that is good enough to provide good content to the people. So if someone is starting out now, it would be much easier to do like you did, to send a DM, connect, join the events, and get to know other creators in another levels, another industry that you can kind of be a part of the community. And then you can start to collaborate with those people. And that's the next thing I want to talk about, because I remember after a while I saw you doing a lot of like the good like transitions with effects, that you learn some cool techniques that of course other people does that, but in Norway it was not that many people kind of doing this kind of stuff that you were doing. And that also caught my eyes, that I had a project that I was like, oh, fits perfectly this project. So I took it to a Red Bull project. And then I have seen you done the same with real estate and then other like environments as well. We're working a lot now with the acai company, the Smooth Exchange, right? He's our returning client now. You're working with them, doing what you do best. So tell me a little bit more about how did you get into this? Because creating content is one thing, but when you sit out to the editing and then you make all those effects, those things that you kind of like are really good at, like how did you start to get these kind of like skills, and then why?
Yeah. Well, that was persistence for sure, because I think, I mean, there is no, at least in my experience, there's no secret to it. You just have to make more, and it sucks not being able to figure out how to do something, but that's kind of the whole point. But I remember I had those two companies I worked at when I was studying had, they believed in me, and they kind of provided me with the resource that I needed to learn and just try some stuff. So I remember like a couple videos I would suggest, like, can I spend a couple more hours trying to figure out how to do this intro or do this effect or stuff like that. And they were just very positive in terms of like, yeah, go ahead, go and learn, and we will be beneficial for that. I realized that not everyone has that luxury. So
did you learn everything on YouTube, or how did you?
I didn't really learn much from that year at film school, to be honest. That was more, I guess, more like planning and cooperation. But like technical ability was just through trial and error. So no, I would. I've had plenty of late nights sitting trying to figure out stuff. So that is just a matter of hours and persistence.
But did you watch anything in the tutorials or anything to kind of learn that, or you were just figuring out as it goes?
Yeah, YouTube all the time. YouTube and Google. Plenty of really good. I mean, I remember one of those things I did at work was I found this tutorial. I think it was like 2 hour long tutorial in After Effects. That was the first time I opened After Effects, of how to make. It was like an underwater logo thing. And I told my boss, like, can I sit a couple hours today just to try and figure it out? And he was like, okay, if we can use that as an intro in this next video, we'll do that. So that took me it was a 2 hour tutorial. It took me about 4 hours, I think, to sit through. So I sat there till 7 or 8 p.m., I think, in the evening, just trying to figure it out. And it was annoying and it took a long time, but that was the first time I opened After Effects, and I didn't stop opening it. So
that's good. And I think one thing I could take from that as well is that for all the bosses out there, it was a good thing that he let you also do that, because many of them would be like, no, use that time with something else. And he was smart enough to understand that if you have that knowledge, the faster you could get this, the better for him as well, that you could implement those techniques in future videos, right? So it's really important as well for the bosses as well, for people hiring you, to be flexible sometimes, right? So then you can learn, and then it will be beneficial for them in the future. So it's not something common, I would say, for brands and other companies to sometimes like, I wanted to do this, because they want to hire you because of what you do, what you can provide, right? So they would not allow you to do, like, spend extra time because they're paying for something. They want to get that right away. So it was a really good for you and for him that you kind of took the extra time to learn it.
Yeah, and I was also making 170 kroner an hour, so I guess that was it's easier to.
And then for Norway, this is okay salary. It's not that bad. But it's still like that you can learn and still get paid to learn. That, if you see the bright side of it, is quite good.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you would have to get 0 kroners and then learn that somewhere else, right? Because he would say, I'm not paying you 170 kroners an hour for you to sit here and learn.
No, fair enough. It was. I just think for that organization, I think my salary wasn't exactly
the highest one.
No.
So let's take a quick break here, Oliver, to just thanks one of our sponsors for today's episode. It's the first episode, but we're not sleeping around. Like we say, we need to get good people around us to kind of build us up, but we also need some brands around us to help supporting us and the community around us. And today we would like to thank Rode for the support. They have helped us to start this podcast. We got all the necessary gear to produce the podcast, which is surprisingly easy, that everyone theoretically could just do it, because a couple of buttons, you learn a little bit things here and there. And then we got the pod mic, the Videocaster, the Rodecaster Pro 2, and several other cables and everything that we need for starting our own podcast. So thanks, Rode, for the support, and let's get back to the podcast. For people watching or listening that don't understand, Oliver are really good with like texting, popping, those when you fly the drone into the text, like real effects and everything. So, but what would you say that is really important for, because sometimes you don't film their own content. People film, they come with idea to you, and then you provide the graphics and everything. So how this system works for people out there that they don't know much about, most of the people film and then edit themselves on the beginning, and then after a certain level, they start to film and then send it to other people to edit. But how does this process work? So let's say I have a project now, I'm going to go film this project. How does it work, the dynamic between me, the filmer, and you that's going to do the effects afterward? Like, what is important to know?
Well, I think for me, I guess that the official title there will be like VFX supervisor. I think that's a very polished title for what I do, but that's like
sounds expensive.
Yes, yeah. I mean the way that it works and the way that it works between us is that I know how to use a camera, so we speak the same language in a way, and I think that is kind of a prerequisite if you're going to do what I do. But we would, take this upcoming project that we might do. We would look at the script together. What are we trying to? What's the message of this piece of content or video or film? And like practically pick out certain sequences or certain shots that need graphics or VFX or those type of things. And I would just say, this is exactly what I need. It has to be static. It has to be shot on a tripod. It has to be 50 frames, not 25. Set the shutter speed to 200, not 50. Just very technical stuff.
So it requires a good communication from the filmer before he actually goes out there and shoots, right?
Yeah. It can be done afterwards as well, but it's always easier to just get in touch in first.
So you like more than this part of the process as well, like you say, a VFX supervisor. It's a really nice name. I need to find I'm a podcaster supervisor or something. But so you like more this kind of work. So this is something that you could see for yourself, that you could kind of like spend more time doing it in the future, or which way you want to take like yourself and your company forward?
That type of work is it's like very bread and butter work. It's like for up until this point, I've just said I can do that for an hourly rate, and that's what I'll invoice. So I don't want to be, but that's kind of because if they need it right there, I can spend a day or two on that, and then I'll give it away again. But I do prefer creating my own content. So idea, scripting, idea, editing, the whole thing. But then if you're going to do the whole thing, you're obviously limited to like how big can your production be. But we've tested, we've got an Amigos video coming out pretty soon that I've tested with where Osman and myself kind of got together and said, okay, this is where styles meet. And then if I made it on my own, it would definitely look differently. But we kind of agreed that the whole idea is to have a 50-50% or 50-50 with this is the way it's going to look. I have my input in terms of like 3D and effects, and he has input in color grade and sound design, and so just having a very strategic compromise where both are happy.
Because you both have really two different completely styles. Like he wants to do a bit more cinematic kind of stuff, and you are a bit more the creative, like really structured script and the effects and everything. So it's a really important thing as well, maybe to take from this, like the collaboration sometimes don't need to be too completely like identical people, because then you could pretty much do yourself. So how it is when you're going to collaborate, I think you talk a little bit about that, but how it is when you're going to collaborate with someone that is completely like their vision can maybe be aligned with yours, but their style of doing things are completely different. So what would you say to other people out there that is listening, that sometimes they collaborate with others, but they feel like, oh, this is not working. Like there's always a way to work. You just need to kind of course, meet 50-50 like you guys did. But what would be the take from this little video that you did with Osman that you guys were completely different? What could you say to others that maybe are in the same situation?
I would, I think it's a bit of a stretch to call ourselves co-directors on a 1-minute reel, but that's kind of the
keep the expensive names.
Titles are for free. In this specific thing, we kind of agreed that we are directing it together, and we're going to figure out how we are both happy. But in terms of other projects, I think you have to be pretty careful with recognizing your role and realizing what you're there for. If you're hired in as a cameraman, you obviously have input, but don't try and override the people who have the vision. But I've also have experiences where sometimes with clients, sometimes with collaborators, where they would kind of enforce their idea and will. And at the end of the day, the customer has to be happy, but not all customers know how to make a video. So they will have wishes and stuff they want to do that might not work. And if you're hired in as the expert, you just have to put your foot down and say, I know what works here, with all respect. And if you've got the time, what I do a lot of times is just, if I got the time, I will do what they want, and I will put that clip in a folder that I will never open. And then I'll just say it didn't work, and they will be, okay, that's no worries. But yeah, recognizing your role. But it's not an easy balance. You have to know when to speak up and know when to pull back in a way.
And it's important, I would say, as well, to meet halfway.
Yeah,
You need sometimes to, it's a balance, right? You need to give and receive kind of thing. So it's really different when you're not creating the whole thing yourself. Like it's a crew, right? One gonna color grade, the one gonna do the effects, one. So it's I would say is not everyone gonna be happy. And like you say, you need to understand your role, right? Because otherwise, what are you getting paid for? You're getting paid for operating the camera, so we're not going to tell you how to do the effects. But it's a tricky point for those that are starting out to collaborate and don't know where to, is they always think, that doesn't work. It's not going to work with anybody. Something might be wrong. But change a little bit the subject here now. So you start for yourself, right? A couple of years ago, you start your own company and you're doing all the freelance work, and now I can see the progress. It's going well. You're starting to get your retaining clients and everything. So how, what would you say was like the shift? Like when did it change that you became kind of a solo creator doing some content for fun to actually being like starting a business and making a living out of making videos, reaching out to clients, all this? Because you can't look at one side and point at the other on the on the camera world, right? Because you send email or cold calls or whatever. So when was this shift from being a solo like freelancer to actually starting a business, getting returning clients like Smooth Exchange and everything?
I mean, I realized that confidence is obviously a big part here, and it's very hard to have a lot of confidence when you are making 0 kronas a month from 100 emails. So I started the company when I finished at Bay, because I was studying in Bergen. When I finished, I decided to just move back to my parents' house because I didn't really have any. If I wanted to go full time for myself, I didn't have the financial capability to sustain that. So I moved back home in June 2024. The day after I took the train back. The day after I got up at 6 a.m. and got behind my Mac and started sketching out a plan. And then I made 2 spec ads, actually, 2 videos. I made one for Nicholls and one for Wabba, which I sent. I made a video for Wabba and I sent it as a text message to the owner, Christian.
You made it fully yourself for free. No one will reach out to you. Just made it and then send it to them so they could see what Oliver can do, kind of thing.
Yep. I bought a 6-pack, or the variety pack of Wabba, which was 6 flavors. I put those bags in front of a spinning, like this product spinner, bought on Temu for like 200 kronas, in front of a green screen backdrop on Temu for 100 kronas, and played around in After Effects. So I put the bag on there, spun it, and used all 6 bags. Technical, rotoscoped out the bag and made like an animation video of it. Sent that to him as a text message. Took a long time before we actually had a meeting, but then eventually October 2024 is when we had like the first video production with him. and now we're working pretty close. So it's fun to see that things happen. But in terms of, I don't know when the switch was, but I know that the first year from July 24 to, out that year to December 24 was brutal. That was really tough.
You mean financially or to get clients? Or?
Financially, mentally, everything. That was really draining, and you just feel so tiny in the world of, looking at you, looking at Tim, looking at all these people that I see on Instagram, look like they've got clients everywhere. And I was
stuck. It's not true, but yeah.
No, I was stuck in Sylling in Lier, which is about an hour away from Oslo, trying to reach out to people. And yeah, it was just, just waking up every day, sitting behind the Mac and just doing what you think is right is the only strategy. But I know how tough it is. I know, I had to go to a psychologist in April last year because it was so tough and just mentally strain. But
now you know as well, because that's what we're trying to do here, that you don't need to be alone.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's when we talk about what would you do differently. Maybe that could be one thing that you could maybe get closer to the community, to be around other people, collaborate. And because I've been there myself as well. And being alone is the worst thing that can happen with any creator, because it's a job that is just you. Like if someone hire you, go there alone, you do the job, and then you come home, and then that's it. And then you go to the next one and the next one. So when you do that over a longer period of time, you meet the wall. Right?
Yeah.
That's why like it's important for everyone out there as well, that if you feel alone, if you're doing a lot of stuff alone, trying to get away from being alone, and meet us here at Amigos, DM a couple of friends or people that you see, because being alone is the worst thing that can happen as a creator, because you work way too much alone. So you probably not the first that has happened, because I know myself, and that's what we're trying to change, so people don't have to go through what I went, what you went, and then probably other people right now are going through the same struggle. But so Waba as well, for those who don't know, what is Waba?
That's a premium bean snack, which the contract hasn't been signed, so I'm not going to, but we might have a retainer agreement there as well.
That's really good. So then another thing that I would say as well that you did, which I think was really cool, that you spend money to make money, right?
Yeah.
That many people out there don't think about it, but you invested, even though it was 100 or 200 kroners, $10, whatever it was, you spend a little bit of money that you didn't have to be able to make an ad, send it to them, and then a couple months later, you start to work with them, and years later, as maybe now, you guys going to sign as a retainer client. So it's really important to spend a little bit of time to maybe in a couple of months or years, you sign it, right? So these are good advice for people watching as well, or listening, that spend money. If you like a brand, whatever brand that is, do something with them, use it as spec ad like you did, reach out. If you don't get an answer, like you say, we move on to the next one. So after that, you got your clients, you start to make a living out of yourself. And where are you now? What you'd say, like what are the next steps for you and your company?
I want to build some cases with the retaining clients that I've got now to just see as a long-term strategy in marketing or social media marketing specifically. So I'm going to focus a lot on my retaining clients. I mean, that's obviously financial reasons, but also because I think it's I believe in the product and what we're doing. But I also have time to take on projects. That's kind of what the structure that I see now is. I've got 2 retaining clients that kind of cover me and my costs. And then if I've got the extra energy, I'll do more stuff. I want to create my own content, but I have this, as everyone knows, being a perfectionist, I struggle to spend just one day on one of my videos, which, it isn't the best strategy for social media, but it has also rewarded me because I know that, as you say, this VFX stuff takes a long time. So I'm in the middle there. If I spend a lot less time on videos, they won't look the way the same. So I don't know. But in the business, that's my two retained clients. They're going to be a focus. Obviously, sitting here, so that's going to be a focus as well. And I guess I'm living a freelancer life, so I need to allow myself to not work 9 to 5, because I'm doing that, which is kind of the point I was trying to avoid. So and that's more like
military mentality.
Yeah. And that's more like a mental thing. Obviously, just that I want to sit here from 8 to 4 but I want to allow myself to say like, okay, Friday you can go to the gym at 11 in the morning if you want to.
So you'd say you still struggle a bit with this freelance lifestyle to adapt, kind of.
Yeah, very, very. But it's been very rewarding to actually. Obviously, just put in the work and show up. So it's kind of trying to figure that balance that you still get rewards from doing the work, but also being able to take breaks when you feel like you have to.
So you'd say that you kind of have overcome this Oliver from a couple of years ago that was a bit sad. Now you are completely new person.
I'm
or
not
you could say you struggle a bit sometimes, or
I mean, business-wise, I'm happy. I'm happy. I mean, that sounded a bit sad. I'm happy in general as well. But like that, it was the business that was really putting a strain on my mental health. Now things are worked out, but I only figured things out because I didn't give up, which is the only advice that I have in terms of just stick with it. And it sucks sometimes. And I mean, we still have bad days now. But the main thing is like the financial stress. That was the worst part.
So you'd say the financial part was the one that was kind of like breaking you a bit more mentally.
Yeah, for sure. It was the idea that because I moved back to my parents when I was 24, I think. And I'm not going to say that's a failure. I mean, that's it's all
smart move.
Yeah. It's all relative. But it was just seeing my friends. I mean, they're going out buying apartments and having starting full-time jobs. Things are coming together, and then I'm stuck there. The problem was that I was stuck indefinitely because I didn't know when things were going to work out. I knew they would work out, but if that meant that I had to stay at home till I was 30, I was prepared for it. Didn't want to, but if that was what I had to, I would do that.
Yeah, but that's some things that we have to go through it sometimes. And thankfully, you had the opportunity to live with your parents, where maybe other people could not have the same. So I would say it was a smart move in my eyes. And that's the thing people sometimes don't see, is like the light on the end of the tunnel, right? You were going through some period that was a bit difficult, but you, like you say, show up every time, continue to try, and you knew it was a temporary situation that you were kind of just navigating through, and eventually now you are out of it, but still need to continue showing up, right? It's not you're still in the beginning of everything, but going back as well, like you say, like you look like as other people and could see that everyone had a bunch of clients and everything, but now yourself, you're about to have 2 retained clients. And you realize really quick that you don't need that many clients.
Yeah, no,
right? So that's the thing about...
As long as you price yourself correctly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the thing, that people want to get a lot of clients and you're not able to kind of like do your job 100% if you have too many clients on your own. Then you need to outsource and then start to the whole thing. So it was quite nice that you say that, because it looks in a certain way that now yourself, you have experience that is not... how actually is. Like, you don't need that much client if you price correctly. The most important, I would say, is have the retained clients, which now you have 1, you're about to have 2, and then you have this financially stability that you were looking for. And then your freelance lifestyle also can change completely, because you don't need to worry about too much about the financial part, because you have a X amount of money every month. You can do your content for yourself. You can go to the gym 12 o'clock and do all the freelance kind of luxury, I would say, that you can do.
Yeah.
But another thing is the perfectionist kind of thing that you say, because I was also myself for a long time a perfectionist into understand that there is other things in life that is much for me. I'm talking about myself that is worth it spend the time with. That for myself, I like tennis, I like all the sports, right? So I would rather because thing that many people don't see is that extra 30 minutes today, if you do that 100 times, right, it becomes a lot. So if you expend a little bit time doing something to make it perfect for today, and then you multiply that by every time you do it becomes a lot. It becomes days and days. So after I realized that, I was like, I prefer to maybe have a video that's not perfect and then I go play tennis. Or I found out that sports are something that take my mind out of it, and I'd rather have something not perfect but done and then spend the time doing something else. What would you say that for you on those days that you're feeling either a bit like stuck with this perfectionism kind of thing, that you need a break? What would you do to kind of get that break? Because I know for you it might be hard to just let it go, right? And then it is what it is. I know you're gonna go back and then fix it, right?
Yeah.
But what would you say that maybe could be a thing that you could do that kind of like, for example, like I say, I go play tennis. What could you do outside of this work to kind of have a break from this perfectionism that you're doing? And the other question, what do you think you could do differently that you could start just, that's good enough, just to believe in yourself, that let it go?
This perfectionism thing has been it's a very hard thing to let go of because you get so rewarded by doing it often. That's my big, because I know that I was at a certain skill level when we kind of got in touch, and same with other creators. I like to think that I was undervalued, which I think I proved that I was. So it was kind of the idea that I want to keep on being a perfectionist for the time being, and then you just have to give it enough time for people to recognize that. But it is also it's a balance, because sometimes it is really hard to not go back and fix that work and do more but then once you start putting a price on it, you can put a price on your time, and you can, instead of saying that it has to be perfect or it has to be so and so, you say that I have X amount of hours that I am going to use on this, and that's because that's what the budget is currently saying. But that's why I'm having a really hard time with my own content, because there is no budget on that. It's just my time. But in terms of client work, I know that I have, in Smooth Exchange, I got 1 day a week. I'm not going to spend more than that. That's kind of the agreement. So I have to make sure that we've filmed, edited, and done everything in that day. And other projects, if I I priced it for a week of work, I'm not going to spend more than a week.
Regardless if it's perfect like you think, or
I think
you let it go a bit easier.
No, I have very few times let a project go without me being like 100% happy.
Even if you go over the time that you agree. Okay.
Yeah. So, and that's, I think there's just a pride thing that I don't want to give away work that I'm not 100% satisfied with, given the budget and what we're doing in a way. There was a second question there as well, but I can't remember what it was.
The question, you kind of answered both of them. It was about, no, the other question was like, what do you normally, like what you do to kind of get away with it, to have like a little break? Do you like to, I heard you were really good at boxing before, but I figure I figure you don't do that anymore. But do you go to the gym? Like, what do you say to other people that maybe, I need a break, this is like getting too crazy? Like, how do you get your mind out of it and come back fresh?
I was not very good at boxing. I just trained it a lot.
I heard you were really
good. I go to the gym and I run a lot. That's I've always enjoyed, or always since high school, I've enjoyed going to the gym. So that's just like a daily routine thing, and that's also very nice to just cut everything out. I'm going to run a half marathon in Prague in March, so I'm training for that.
That's good.
And so I'm just now these days I'm just running, but I really like that because you're working towards a goal, and running, just put headphones in, listen to some nice music, and just get outside and chill. And other than that, I mean, having friends around you is obviously going to be a big thing. My girlfriend helps a lot, obviously. Family. Yeah, my video used to be such a big hobby of mine that I don't have that many hobbies outside of the gym, to be honest. So it's either gym or friends. A bit of traveling, but it hasn't been that much of that recently.
But that's your break, right? That's the way when you're with your family and friends.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty good. But last question to wrap it up. If you have now to give advice for not just for the creators in Oslo, but for people all over the world, like what would you say for them that either are starting out or they already they think they are maybe good enough, but you're never good enough. You always want to improve. But what would you say for those people? Like, what is a message for them to kind of like either stick with it, what they're doing, or some things like you say along the way, like do differently? What would be the advice from Oliver to the people out there?
I think it's, as I said, it's just everyone says this, but there's a reason that everyone says it, and that is network. I underestimated, because that first year that I was, or first 6 months from June 2024 to December 2024, I didn't have an office space. I was at home in my parents' lounge with just screens and my MacBook, trying to make things work. I realized the value of sitting in an office in January 25, and just how valuable that is. And I know that for some people it can be pricey in the beginning, and I fully understand that. But if you show up at that office every day and see people, number one, I mean, in terms of this space, everyone here is, experienced. So everyone has a free experience to share with you. And they can just tell, instead of you making mistakes for 2 years, you can just get, I don't know how many years of mistakes we've got in this space.
Oh,
but
yes. Many years.
Probably like 30 years of it, or even more of mistakes that we can just tell you straight away. This is your price. This is how you deliver that. This is drop that client, say yes to that one. So I would say trying to seek out a network, an office space, people you can connect with. That's going to bring you years. It's going to save you years of work.
That's a really good advice. And for those who don't know, Amigos is a podcast, but also we are a creative space. We open here in Oslo now, where we do podcasts. We have a studio. We host party events, premiere. So we're trying to build a little community around here. And Oliver is a part of that community. He sits over there together with other creators. So I fully agree. That's something I would do myself if I had to go back a couple of years when I moved to Norway. Find a place where there is other creative people around, where you can collaborate, learn from each other. And like you say, you can learn a lot from other people's mistakes. So you out there looking for a space, don't need to be us, can be anywhere else, but surround yourself with other creators like Oliver, like myself, and people in the industry where you can learn and progress, and be a better version of yourself, and eventually progress in your career as well. Oliver, thanks a lot for your time, for being the first and ever here on the Amigos podcast. I hope, let's say in a year from now, you would go back and then we would see where you are at the moment and things that you have learned from this year. Hopefully you are not sitting here with us anymore. You have your own space, big and Oliver Media House with a lot of people, but we're happy to have you here. And thanks a lot for coming and being a part of the podcast.
Thanks for being your first guest. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. And remember to subscribe, sign up. I don't know what to say. This is the first time, right? I need to check with Ai, my producer over there, to see what we're going to say for the next one. But it's going to be on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, all the platforms. So listen, watch, and help us to make make this podcast better for the next guest as well, and something to kind of build a community in Oslo and other areas as well in the world where people can try to do the same as we're trying to do here. So thanks a lot, Oliver, and see you the next one. Peace.